The first snows of winter have fallen. The Howgills, rounded, rugged, the Coniston Grit separated from the jagged volcanic peaks of the Lake District by a geological fault line, creating the Lune Gap. Nudging on the eastern edge, the limestone slopes of the Yorkshire Dales. Naked and windswept, the Howgills, so beloved by the intrepid doyen of hill walking, Alfred Wainwright. Here are the beginnings of one of the most beautiful and placid rivers in the north of England. On the northern slopes, close by the 605-metre peak of Green Bell, is Dale Gill, the true starting point of the River Lune. Becoming Greenside Beck, it passes close by its first village, Ravenstonedale. The heritage of Britain is being continually eroded, disappearing through short-sighted developments, but it is in our ancient churches that the whole spectrum of building and social history can be found. In the Lune Valley there are many, many historic churches hiding and preserving over 1,000 years of history. St. Oswald's Church, whose tower was built in 1738, is a delight. The church still has its original sundial and triple-deck pulpit, and most unusually, pews which do not face the altar. Behind it are the 12th century remains of a Gilbertine monastery. The George II coat of arms looks down on a beautifully preserved church, with stained glass windows dedicated to St. Aidan and to King Oswald. But it is another window that attracts most of the attention. It's dedicated to Elizabeth Fothergill, who came from the nearby hamlet of Brownborough and was the last woman to be burned at the stake at Tyburn in London on the 4th of October 1685. Burnt alive, she had been a kindly woman who hid a religious rebel after the Monmouth Rebellion in 1685, but who was then betrayed by him to the notorious Judge Jeffreys. Brownborough is still tiny, but it retains its 17th century tower house and ancient farms. The village of Ravenstonedale is not strictly on the River Lune. It's Scandal Beck that runs past the historic King's Head Hotel, which was built in 1627 and which over time has been not only a courthouse but also the local jail. But following our infant River Lune, we come to the ancient village of Newbiggin-on-Lune. It's old enough to have appeared in the Domesday Book, but was not included because at that time the Scottish king Malcolm Canmore ruled the area. It didn't become part of England until William the Conqueror's son Rufus pushed the Scots further north to establish the present Anglo-Scottish border. It is so full of history. Newbiggin means new settlement, and if you look closely at many of the houses you'll see arched entrances by some of them. These lead to yards where the yeomen, the farmers, would drive their animals to protect them when raiders, or reivers as they were called, came down from the north, looking to steal cattle, and as many virgins as they could find. This ancient area was famous for its wool and knitting from the end of the 17th century, and there are rooms in the houses where the smelly wool fleeces were stored until it was time to move them to the spinning galleries. Here, ladies and girls in the house would use their spinning wheels to prepare wool for knitting. There are few places in Britain where you can see intact spinning galleries like these. The Silurian rocks of the Howgills form the southern edge of the Lune Valley for quite a while, and have been cut deeply by the many becks and streams which feed the River Lune. A feature of this area are the magnificent stone walls that cover the hillsides. Painstakingly built over the centuries, they stretch for miles, a paradise for photographers, but they're in constant need of repair. Many local farmers have had this skill passed down to them from father to son. For those hill walkers who freely roam our countryside, it might be well to remember that one dislodged stone can soon lead to a wall falling into disrepair.